Today, we're going to go over a list of top 10 movies that speak to me that you need to watch or rewatch if you've ever been involved in a religious cult. Hello, lovely brothers and sisters. This is Cameron. How's it going? I hope your weekend's going great. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very, very freaking long time. I love movies. In fact, since the age of 10 or 11-ish, I kind of knew that filmmaking is something that I wanted to do and go into professionally. I'd watched several of these movies growing up, thinking that the writers and directors were unknowingly speaking to myself as a Jehovah's Witness and my cause that I thought I was following. So oddly enough, they inspired me in a cultish kind of way to keep going in my cult ways, to keep proclaiming the kingdom and the end of the world and Armageddon, that everyone else is going to die unless they become a Jehovah's Witness. Now, a little over a year of being out of the brainwashing from the cult, I look at these movies completely differently, just completely 360-degree different. Realizing that my mother, at an early age, they got a hold of her, they took advantage of her, brainwashed her, convinced her to cut off her blood friends and family, subject me to a life of slave labor, see people needlessly die for a cause that was for man and not for God. And many of you know exactly what I'm talking about, whether you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, Scientologist, Hasidic Jew, Mormon, Amish guy, lady, whatever. These are some movies you need to check out. I want to make sure we were super clear on these are movies that spoke to me, and these are my opinion, which I'm allowed to have. So these are the ones that spoke to me after rewatching them, most of them, and if not all of them, in the last year of waking up, and I look at them completely different. We're going to start from number 10. Number 10. This whole list is kind of a mix of mostly nonfiction, of mostly narrative type of movies, or actually movies you would go see in a theater, and a couple of documentaries as well as an episode. It's kind of a hodgepodge of everything. And Netflix original series that I've begun to really, really love is called Master of None. Specifically, season 2, episode 3. It's about religion. The first couple of minutes in the opener, if you're anything from a religious cult or a religious background, you will totally understand exactly what was going on, because if you grew up in one of those, you'll know what it feels like to be dragged off your ass and forced into these religious meetings and church goings. This show, the series as a whole, seasons 1 and 2 are amazing. Aziz Ansari really, if you're anywhere from your early to mid 20s to early to mid 30s, and even up, actually, the world of dating and religion and figuring yourself out keeps going. It's not just when you're a teenager. And each episode kind of speaks upon that, and I really identify with this show. But specifically season 2, episode 3, the episode on religion, you gotta watch it. Number 9. This one almost didn't make the list for me. It almost didn't make the list, but it was something new that came out in 2017. Blade Runner 2049. With Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. Who else is in it? Googling. Her name is Ana de Armas. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that name, but yeah, she was also in it, and really, really cute. I may cut that out of the video, who knows. That movie, the reason why I picked it is because I'm trying to say it without giving too much away. But if you have ever been put in a position or a situation where you think you're doing the right thing and something comes up and your whole life gets flipped over and you were believing one thing and you're believing something different now, that's why it spoke to me. Number 1, I saw this movie in theaters. The cinematography is amazing. It's epic. It's definitely a film, like a movie film. It's shot for enthusiasts. And in my opinion, it was better than the original Blade Runner, which I thought was kind of weird and interesting, but it was definitely ahead of its time. I just thought it was a good movie overall. Definitely worth seeing in theaters if it's still playing in your area. Just a really good film. Very simple storyline, but detective-like, takes patience, and it's for a certain audience for sure. But ex-cult survivors, I think you might see it in a different light. If you haven't seen the trailer for Whiplash, I almost recommend that you don't watch it and just jump straight into the movie. It's, number 1, it's a movie about music and a young student who's about in his early, maybe he's 19, in his early 20s. Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons is in it. They are all epic. The cinematography is great. The movie and the storytelling is gripping. It is more intense than any war movie that I have seen recently in probably the last 5 or 10 years. It grips you and it has you. So if you haven't seen any trailers for it, I would recommend to skip that, watch the movie. But the reason why it speaks to me and ex-cult survivors is anyone who understands coming from, I'm trying not to give anything away, from feeling like you owe someone loyalty who you really don't, and then staying with that person because you feel like you owe it to them. And it goes a lot farther than that, and it will and may trigger some things for some of you, so I apologize ahead of time. It is a great movie. You have to watch it. It has you literally biting your fingernails off until the very end. Amazing movie. Go check it out.
Number 7.
This movie, I feel like the top 4 or 5 movies, which is half the list, were many times shuffled around and almost not in here. But Moon from 2009. We got Sam Rockwell. If you don't know who he was the bad guy from Iron Man 2. And he did an amazing job being the main actor and carrying the whole movie for this movie. The movie's good. And if you have ever had a relationship, a cult relationship, or belonging to a relationship where someone was lying to you, this is a great movie.
Number 6.
This one's a little bit older, but I definitely felt like this deserved to be on the list. A Beautiful Mind, with starring Russell Crowe, Ed Harris, Jennifer Connelly, and directed by Ron Howard. It's a classic. It's hard to think that 2001 is now considered classic. But if you've ever been in a situation, or for cult survivors, where you think that what you're doing is normal and then your world gets flipped up on its side and you realize it's not, you gotta watch this movie. It's a great, fantastic movie. I really hope that I didn't ruin the main plot by saying that.
Number 5.
Finally, a documentary on the list called Going Clear in the Prison of Belief. Came out in 2015, so not that old. And we've got Paul Haggis and a whole bunch of people kind of coming forward about Scientology, where it came from, L. Ron Hubbard, and the mind and the upbringing of a cult leader, someone who's absolutely full of themselves, a narcissist. And we have actual recordings of L. Ron Hubbard saying the only way to make money is to start your own religion. And he did it. And he had the tenacity and hard work to put into it. So in a very sick way, kind of, inspiring because he put in a lot of hard work, but in a very sick and twisted way, disgusting because he's using and abusing a lot of people to make money in a business that is tax-free at the moment.
Number 4.
This one absolutely had to be on the list. I rewatched this movie recently. It still holds up through time. It's back when M. Night Shyamalan was in his prime, The Village. If you have not seen this movie, please go see it right away. It grabs you, captivates you, flips things several times, and then ends in a classic M. Night Shyamalan way. We've got Sigourney Weaver in here. We have Joaquin Phoenix. Adrian Brody's in this movie. Bryce Dallas Howard. We have a lot of really good, solid actors, and the movie is just fantastic. Go see it.
Number 3.
This one, when I saw the first 20 seconds of the trailer, which this actually is one of the I think the only one on the list where, go ahead, watch the trailer. I recommend it. The first 20 seconds will have you captivated. It's called One of Us. It's a Netflix original documentary that actually just came out in 2017. It's brand new. Please watch it. The first 20 seconds. If anyone has faced disfellowshipping, excommunication, disconnecting, being shunned and publicly humiliated, or even from like North Korea, they practice these same sick, disgusting tactics. One of Us will have you. And then it just goes deep into the world. It is a gorgeous documentary. Something that I hope to do with the Jehovah's Witnesses someday in the near future is make my own documentary paying homage to the people going through my struggle, the same struggle. It was mind-blowing that the Hasidic Jewish community right in Brooklyn, New York, has so much in common with other ex-cult people, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the list goes on and on. Number 2, I cannot stress how in love with this documentary series I am. I cannot stress this. It is huge in the ex-cult world. Leah Remini, Scientology, and the Aftermath. I can't stress how freaking amazing this series is. Number 1, Leah Remini is brave, bold, blunt, honest, hardworking, gorgeous, all of these things combined into one. I was literally almost in tears almost every single episode. In the first episode, it brings about her story, which is very similar to my own mother's story of how she got caught up with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Can't stress this enough. It's on A&E Network. You can watch the episodes on the A&E website as well. Go watch it. It's amazing. And also has been known, if you use this movie and show it to those who are in a cult, it has been known to wake up many, many people and get them to stop and get out of the cult that they are in. So not only a great educational tool, very entertaining, gorgeous documentary, really good music. I'm a fan of documentary and soundtracks of movies, and this soundtrack, I wish I could find who made the music. It's amazing. Let me know in the comments. Scientology in the Aftermath, we're on season 2 now, and season 3 is rumored to have one or a couple of the episodes focused on Jehovah's Witnesses. So very excited for that and to meet that. And a few of the ex-JW community has actually met Leah, and she's actually very nice and understanding and very open to listening.
Number 1.
Here we are, number 1 on my list of movies that you need to watch or rewatch. And if you haven't seen this, that means you are too young. The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne. It was originally shot by the Wachowski brothers. I think they are actually both now the Wachowski sisters. So good for them. This movie, I cannot say enough. I remember watching it as a young kid. I must have been like between age 8 and between age 10, somewhere around there, maybe even younger. It still blew my mind. The Matrix stands out. At the time when it came out, it was different. There was nothing else like it. And in the sci-fi world, I feel like it's extremely hard to be original in content, movies in general. And as a Jehovah's Witness, I was sitting down going, wow, it's just like going door to door and knocking and trying to wake these people up, and they don't want to wake up and they don't want to follow God, so they're going to die, so I need to go out in service, knocking on doors and convert people. Now watching it as an adult who's fully awake, I look at it completely different as, hey, this is a lot of, jails and churches and cults and businesses and religion in general that this movie has a lot of metaphors for. There's so many quotable lines in this movie, so many moments where I'm like, holy crap, that's mind-blowing, and it just stands the test of time. It still holds up too. It still looks like a great movie. At least the first Matrix does. I don't know about the second two. But the first one is a classic, great movie, great soundtrack, amazing cinematography. If you would like to see some honorable mentions that I had to cut out, there was quite a few, let me know if you'd like to see more of these in the future. And if I have time to get around to it, then I definitely will. Leave your top 10 list down below. I really would love to see what matters to you. Your top 10 list of ex-cult movies or movies that spoke to you in some way when leaving the cult that you look at differently now and end up watching that end up speaking to you. I want to know. As always, thanks for watching, brothers and sisters. Like this if it helped you out. Leave a comment if you want to say something nice. And then subscribe so we can stay in contact and I can keep sending you kind of content like this. Until next time, brothers and sisters, I will see you in the next video.